How to speak so that people want to listen. Hi, I'm Teacher Luke, and I'm back with another very important story for you. Today, you will learn some tricks to help you speak better so people will listen. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. But before I start reading, where are you right now and what is the time? Write below in the comments. Okay then, let's get to it. Chapter 1. The Power of Your Voice. Before we begin, let me ask you two questions. Have you ever listened to someone who spoke in such a clear and engaging way that you wanted to hear more? And have you ever noticed when another person's voice made you lose interest, even if their words were important? Please write your answers in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. Your voice is one of the most powerful tools you have. It's not just about the words you choose, but about how you say them. The sound of your voice can make people trust you, respect you, and want to listen to you. Or it can do the opposite. If your voice is flat, too soft, or rushed, people may stop paying attention, even if your message is strong. Think about famous speakers, teachers, or even YouTubers you like. What makes them enjoyable to listen to? Usually, it's not only their ideas. It's the way they use their voice, the rhythm, the pauses, the energy. Your voice carries emotion. It communicates confidence. It shapes how people feel about your message. I learned this lesson in a very personal way. When I was a university teacher in South Korea, I used to give long lectures. At first, I thought my job was to give as much information as possible. So I spoke quickly, with few pauses, focusing on facts and instructions. But one day, after class, a student came to me and said politely, "Teacher Luke, I understand the information, but sometimes your voice is very hard to follow." At first, I felt embarrassed, but then I realized she was right. My voice was too flat, and my rhythm didn't give the students time to process my words. I was speaking to share information, but I wasn't speaking to connect, so I began to practice. I slowed down, I added pauses, and I used more variety in my tone. Instead of staying on one level, I went higher to show excitement and lower to show seriousness. I discovered that when I changed my voice, my students listened more closely. Some even told me, "Teacher Luke, now your lectures feel like stories." That moment changed the way I saw my voice, not just as a sound, but as a tool of connection. So, how can you use your voice so that people want to listen? Let's explore some key elements. 1. Volume. If you speak too softly, people may struggle to hear you and they might lose interest. If you shout, they may feel uncomfortable. The best volume is clear and confident, strong enough to be heard easily, but natural, not forced. 2nd, pace. Speaking too quickly makes people feel lost, while speaking too slowly may feel boring. A good pace has variety. Sometimes you speed up to show excitement, and sometimes you slow down to make an important point. 3rd, pitch. Pitch is how high or low your voice sounds. A flat voice, always at the same pitch, can sound monotonous. But when you move your pitch, higher for energy, lower for seriousness, your voice feels alive. 4. Pauses. Pauses are powerful. A short silence gives your listener time to think. It also makes your words feel more important. Try pausing before or after a key sentence. You'll notice people lean in, waiting for what comes next. 5. Warmth. A voice can be warm or cold. Warmth comes from smiling as you speak, from showing care in your tone. Even on the phone, people can hear your smile. Warmth makes people want to listen because it makes them feel valued. Let's try a small experiment together. Imagine you want to say the sentence, "I'm really happy to see you today." If you say it quickly, with a flat voice, it sounds like, "I'm really happy to see you today." But if you say it slowly, with energy and a little smile, it sounds like, "I'm really happy to see you today." Same words, very different feeling. This is the power of your voice. Many students ask me, Teacher Luke, how can I practice improving my voice? Here are some simple methods. Read aloud every day. Choose a short text, maybe a news article, a story, or even your own writing, and read it aloud. Focus on clarity and variety. Record yourself. Listening to your own voice can feel strange at first, but it helps you notice if your voice is too flat, too fast, or too quiet. Practice with emotion. Take a simple sentence and say it in different ways. Happy, sad, angry, excited. This builds flexibility in your voice. Use breathing. Good voice control comes from good breathing. Before speaking, take a slow, deep breath. It gives your voice strength and calmness. Shadow speakers you admire. Listen to a TED Talk, podcast, or YouTuber and copy their voice, rhythm, and pauses. This improves both pronunciation and delivery. I want to share another story. I once coached a student, Ali, who wanted to improve his presentation skills. His English was strong, but when he spoke, his voice was very flat. He said, "Teacher, people don't listen to me." We practiced together. I asked him to read a paragraph aloud, but each time I told him to exaggerate one element. First volume, then pitch, then pauses. He laughed because it felt silly at first. But then something amazing happened. When he combined all the elements, his voice became clear and engaging. At his next presentation, he told me, "People finally paid attention." That showed him, and me again, that your voice can transform how others respond to you. Of course, using your voice well is not only about sounding confident, it is also about respect. When you vary your tone, pause for your listener, and show warmth, you are telling people, "I care about you." I want you to understand that kind of communication makes people want to listen, not just because of your message, but because of your presence. So, what is the secret? The power of your voice lies in balance, clear, varied, and warm. You don't need to sound like a movie star. You just need to use your voice with awareness instead of letting it run on autopilot. Let me finish this chapter with 2 questions for you. When was the last time you felt that someone's voice really made you want to listen? And what is one thing you can practice this week? Volume, pace, pitch, pauses, or warmth to make your own voice stronger? Please write your answers in the comments. I'd love to read them. Because in the end, people don't only hear your words, they hear your voice. And when your voice carries confidence, variety, and warmth, people will not only listen, they will want to keep listening. Chapter 2. 7 Habits of Highly Effective Speakers. Before we begin, let me ask you 2 questions. Who is a speaker you really enjoy listening to? Maybe a teacher, a YouTuber, or a leader? And what makes their speaking so effective in your opinion? Please share your answers in the comments. I'd love to hear who inspires you. When people think about speaking well, they often imagine big speeches, famous TED Talks, or powerful leaders. But the truth is, every one of us can learn to speak so that people want to listen. It is not about having the perfect voice or the biggest vocabulary. It is about habits, small, daily ways of speaking that make your message clear, engaging, and memorable. In this chapter, I'll share with you 7 habits of highly effective speakers. These are habits that anyone can practice, no matter your level of English. And if you build them step by step, people will not only understand you better, they will actually want to listen to you. Habit 1. Speak with clarity. Effective speakers make their message clear. They avoid long, confusing sentences and choose simple, direct words. Remember, simple does not mean weak. In fact, the clearest speakers often use short sentences that everyone can follow. Think of this sentence. I am of the opinion that it is necessary to utilize additional strategies to optimize results. Complicated, right? Instead, you could say, I think we need more strategies to get better results. Same idea, much clearer. Clarity shows respect for your listener. It says, I want you to understand me without difficulty. Habit 2. Use stories. Human beings love stories. Long before books or schools existed, people shared knowledge through stories around the fire. Stories help listeners remember because they create images and emotions. When I teach English, I notice students remember my personal stories much better than grammar explanations. For example, when I tell a story about the time I gave my first lecture and felt nervous, students often recall it weeks later. Why? Because stories connect ideas with feelings. So, the next time you speak, don't just give facts. Add a short story, even a simple one. It will make your message more alive. Habit 3. Show enthusiasm. Have you ever listened to a speaker who sounded bored? It's very hard to stay interested if the speaker has no energy. Enthusiasm is contagious. When you sound excited about your topic, your listener starts to feel excited too. This doesn't mean shouting or acting dramatic. It means showing genuine interest in what you're saying. Use a warm tone, vary your pitch, and let your face show some emotion. Even a small smile can change the feeling of your words. Remember, if you don't care about what you're saying, why should anyone else? Habit 4. Listen as much as you speak. Effective speaking is not only about talking, it is also about listening. When you show that you are listening, people feel respected and they are more willing to listen to you in return. This can be as simple as nodding while someone talks, making eye contact, or repeating back what they said. So, you're saying that? Listening creates connection, and connection makes your speaking more effective. I often remind my students, good speakers are also good listeners. Habit 5. Use pauses. Many learners are afraid of silence, so they fill every moment with words like or you know, but silence, when used well, is powerful. A short pause gives your audience time to think. It also makes your words feel more important. Think of a good movie. The most dramatic scenes often have silence before the action. That pause builds attention. You can do the same when you speak. For example, the most important lesson I learned that day was pause. Never give up. By practicing pauses, you make people lean in and listen more closely. Habit 6. Adapt to your audience. Effective speakers always think about who they are talking to. Speaking to children is different from speaking to adults. Giving a presentation at work is different from chatting with friends. Ask yourself, who is my audience? What do they need? What do they already know? Then adapt your language, examples, and tone. If your audience is international, for example, avoid slang that only locals understand. Adapting shows respect. It tells your listener, I care about you and I want to make this clear for you. Habit 7. Practice, reflect, improve. No one becomes a great speaker overnight. The best speakers practice again and again. They record themselves, reflect on what went well, and improve what didn't. I remember when I first started making YouTube videos. My first videos were not very good. My voice was flat, my camera work was weak, and I spoke too quickly. But I didn't stop. With each video, I learned something new. Over time, my speaking improved, and so did my confidence. This is the final habit of effective speakers. They never stop learning. They practice, reflect, and grow step by step. Let's quickly review the 7 habits. Speak with clarity, use stories, show enthusiasm, listen as much as you speak, use pauses, adapt to your audience, practice, reflect, and improve. These habits may sound simple, but together they create powerful communication. So, let me finish with two questions for you. Which of these 7 habits do you already use when you speak? And which habit would you like to practice more this week? Please share your answers in the comments. I'd love to read them. Because in the end, effective speaking is not about perfection. It's about building habits that make people want to listen, remember, and connect with you. And with practice, you can develop these habits one by one until your voice becomes a voice people truly enjoy hearing. Chapter 3: Integrity and Truthfulness in Speaking. Before we begin, let me ask you 2 questions. Do you trust every speaker you hear, or do you sometimes doubt their words? And when someone speaks honestly, how does it make you feel as a listener? Please share your answers in the comments. I'd love to read your thoughts. Words are powerful. They can build trust, inspire action, and create strong relationships. But they can also do the opposite. They can break trust, hurt people, and destroy connections. What makes the difference? Integrity and truthfulness. When you speak with integrity, your words and your actions match. You are not pretending to be someone else, and you are not saying something you don't believe. When you speak with truthfulness, people feel safe. They know they can trust your words, and this makes them want to listen to you. Without integrity, even the most beautiful speech loses its power. With integrity, even simple words can be strong and memorable. I learned this lesson during my early years as a teacher. At first, I thought my job was to know everything. I wanted to appear perfect in front of my students. If they asked me a question and I didn't know the answer, I felt nervous. Sometimes I tried to give an answer even if I wasn't sure. But I quickly discovered something. Students can sense when you are not being fully honest. They can hear it in your voice or see it in your face. And when they sense this, they stop listening with the same respect. So I changed my approach. If a student asked me a question I couldn't answer, I started saying, "That's a great question. I don't know the answer right now, but I'll find out for you." At first, I worried they would think I was weak, but the opposite happened. My students respected me more. They saw that I was truthful, and that made my teaching stronger. This experience showed me that integrity is not about pretending to be perfect. It's about being real, even when that feels uncomfortable. Why does integrity matter so much in speaking? Let's explore 3 reasons. 1. Integrity builds trust. Trust is the foundation of communication. If people believe you are honest, they will listen carefully and take your words seriously. If they doubt your truthfulness, they may stop listening altogether. 2. Integrity makes your message stronger. A truthful message has power because it connects to reality. When your words reflect your real thoughts and values, they sound natural and convincing. 3. Integrity creates respect. People respect those who are truthful even when the truth is difficult. They may not always agree with you, but they will appreciate your honesty. Think of a time when someone lied to you. Maybe it was small, maybe it was big, but how did it affect your listening? Did you feel eager to hear them again, or did you feel disappointed? Now, think of a time when someone spoke honestly, even if it was hard to hear. Chances are you felt more respect for them, not less. This is why integrity is one of the most important qualities of a speaker. Without it, words lose their value. With it, words can change lives. So, how can you practice integrity and truthfulness in your own speaking? Here are a few practical steps. 1. Say what you mean. Don't say things just to impress others. If you don't believe in something, don't pretend you do. Listeners can usually feel the difference. 2. Admit when you don't know. This can feel scary, especially in school or at work, but honesty creates trust. People respect when you are clear instead of guessing or inventing. 3. Match words with actions. If you promise something, do it. If you say, I'll send you the information tomorrow, make sure you send it. When your actions support your words, people trust you more. 4. Speak kindly but truthfully. Truth doesn't mean being rude. It's possible to be both honest and gentle. For example, instead of saying, your idea is bad, you can say, I don't fully agree, but I think it could work better if. This way you are truthful and respectful. 5. Check your motives. Ask yourself, why am I saying this? If your reason is to help, inform, or connect, then you are probably speaking with integrity. If your reason is to impress, manipulate, or hide, then it may be time to pause. Let me share another story. Once I was giving feedback to a student after a presentation. Her English was strong, but her delivery needed improvement. I had two choices. I could give only praise to make her feel good, or I could be honest about both strengths and weaknesses. I chose honesty with kindness. I said, your content was very clear and your effort shows. But sometimes your voice was too quiet and some classmates couldn't hear. If you speak louder, your message will be even more powerful. Her face showed surprise, but later she told me, thank you for being honest. It helped me improve. That moment reminded me, truth, when shared respectfully, helps people grow. Some learners worry that if they are too honest, people will dislike them. But the opposite is usually true. People don't expect perfection, but they do value honesty. If you share your thoughts clearly and truthfully, listeners may not always agree, but they will listen. Now let's connect this to English learning. Many learners hesitate to speak because they fear mistakes. But here's the thing, being truthful also means being open about your level. If you make a grammar mistake, just keep speaking. If you don't know a word, explain it simply with other words. This honesty is better than silence. People will appreciate your effort. For example, if you forget the word pharmacy, you can say, the place where I buy medicine. That's truthful communication. It shows you are brave and clear, and that makes people want to keep listening. At the heart of integrity is courage. It takes courage to admit mistakes, to speak honestly, and to stay true to yourself. But courage creates connection, and connection makes your words powerful. Let me end this chapter with two questions for you. When was the last time you appreciated someone for speaking honestly? And in your own English practice, how can you bring more truthfulness and integrity into the way you speak? Please write your answers in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Because in the end, speaking so that people want to listen is not just about voice, vocabulary, or grammar. It is about integrity. When your words are truthful, your message has power. And when your message has power, people will always want to listen. Thank you for listening to me read this story.